Hey guys, welcome to a new video on this channel, and on this video I'll be making the dress we saw on the thumbnail for this video. So if this looks like something you'd be interested in learning, please stay tuned to the end of this video, and as you do that, please remember to subscribe and to leave a like for this video, and also turn on your post notifications so you are informed every time I make a new post. So for beginners, I like to cut off every time I'm making a gown that has a joining at the waist. I like to start off with cutting the skirt part. I've already bent the bottom part of the skirt that is going to be turned in with the lining. So now just go ahead and take the measurement that I need for the skirt. So I'm going to be starting at the end, and I'm measuring up to the half length. So this is the half length that I need, and I'm just going to measure it. So this is the line where it's going to meet the top of the dress. Then for that, I'll also be adding a half-inch allowance to the top of it, although I've not yet added the half-inch allowance into it, but I'll be doing that just so that the half-inch is like the sewing allowance for it. This extra line at the top here will be like the half-inch for sewing allowance for it. So I'll just simply measure down to the hip area. I like to use 9 from the waist to the hip side. So this is like the hip area. Now take out the waist measurement and then add allowance of like 2 inches for it, and then do the same thing for the waist area. So I'll be able to curve it all the way down to this bottom to give out the bottom part of the gown. So I've already cut out the front area. This is what I have for it, and now I've placed it on the back because I want to cut out the back side, but then again I also have allowance here. So I have this allowance for 1.5 inch for the back. So I'm just going to cut out this same thing, following out the front pattern. Now one thing is, I'm not going to notch for the dart because I want to cut the front and use the front measurements to notch for the dart, just so that I have them placed on exactly the same line. So this is what I have for both front and back. Now if I want to make a slit at the bottom, I'm simply just going to cut it into here and thin out this line up to this very point. So I'm going to mark out this point here and drawing it with a straight line all the way down to the top, so it is thinned out like this. And then I'll just simply join it. So I'm going to cut out this point. So this is what I have. Then I'll open up this downside, and this is how it's going to be. But if I don't want this part maybe to have that overlapping look at the back, I could simply just cut it out completely, so it will look something like this. And then this is just going to be the sewing in allowance for the dress, but I want it to have that overlap at the back, so this is what will serve as the overlap for the back. So I'm done cutting the down part of the skirt. All that remains is just to cut the lining for it. I'm just going to measure out up to the half length, and I'm going to add 1 inch because to the total measurement, because half is going to go for the sewing at the shoulder and half is going to go for the waist joining. So I'm just going to measure that out. So since I already have this, then I'm going to come down here and mark out the bust point to bust point measurement. So after measuring out the bust point area, then I'll measure out the shoulder. I'll make a mark on it. Then from there I'll measure the chest line, right? But I didn't mark this out on paper, so I'll measure the chest line. Then I'll take a half of it. I simply just took note of where the mark was and then drew a line to meet that point there, and then also draw out the armhole area. But I'll make a video explaining better what I did here. Now on the fabric, I'll measure from the shoulder to the under bust line. then from the shoulder to the nipple point. So then I'll make a connecting line from the point that I marked out there close to the shoulder to touch on the bust point area. So that is like a curved line. So to draw out the princess dart area, I came to the bottom, the under bust area, and then I marked out 1/4 inch on both sides for the center part and for the side part of the front area. Then also the logic behind this depends on how busty the person is. So for somebody who is not so busty, you can take out like half. For somebody who is like medium, you can take out one, and for somebody who is very, you can take out 1.5. I usually use 1.5 for my most. Then for the top part, I went and took out the same measurement for both sides. So that's 1/4 for both sides, making 2.5 inch. Then I'll just even that into the line, like blend it into the line that I've already drawn. So after marking out the princess dart, I'll step the shoulder down by 1 inch. Don't forget, I still have a half inch sewing allowance at the shoulder area. So I just step down so that it can perfectly lap at the shoulder side. Then after I've drawn this out, I'll mark the neckline. So I did a freehand rolling. You could still decide to use a curved roller to draw the neckline if you wish. Then after curving out the neck area, I just go ahead and cut. So now I want to cut out for the back. So for the back on, I don't necessarily need to do so much drawings and markings because I'm placing the front on it. Now if you notice, I joined the bottom part of this princess dart together. I did not focus on the bust area, more like the waist or the under bust to the waist area. I joined it together on the back part because obviously the back part does not have a bust area, so you don't want to create that space for a breast space. Yes, you don't want to create that space for it. Then I also touched on the armhole area. I just made it a perfect curve. Then I'm trimming out every single part of it. Also, I made a 1.5 inch zipper allowance for the back side. So I went on to use a straight ruler to draw out the space that I already earmarked for the allowance at the back. This is not a very necessary step because I could have also just still gone ahead to use the curved rule to just mark out what I want. So initially I wanted to split the back of this princess dart. That's why I was making a marking at the shoulder and the bottom part. If you notice the exact point where the side and center front touch, I was trying to make a mark there because initially I wanted to separate it, but after a while I decided against separating it, although I still just drew the lines to touch from the bottom to the down part. So if you decide you want to separate yours. That's like a good lead on how to separate yours. But if you decide, just like me, to no longer separate it, then you can still just use the point where the side and center front meet to just create a dart for the back. So you just pinch the two sides together and use your scissors to nudge that area, so it just helps you know where the dart for the back should be. So I placed the front on the back again because I had not yet cut out the neckline for the back. So I just put that on there and then make a marking on the back pattern, and then just use it to trace out the neckline that I want. I think I measured it by 2 inches down because that's how deep I wanted the back to be. So just like I mentioned I would do earlier, I used the curved rule to cut into the zip allowance. So what this does is that it takes care of that bulge that forms at the back when you place the zip. So instead of it to bulge just like that, it's going to make the zip very straight, like just tighten that bulge part area of the zip. So that's just what this does. Well, automatically it also shifts the zip allowance into the cloth. So that helps. So I just made a notch on the top and the bottom area to help me know where to place the zip when I'm sewing it. Now I just cut out the neck area that I had drawn earlier, but if you notice I put it back again because I realized that I shouldn't have cut it, so I'll be able to get the V shape that I wanted to. So I just placed it back, measured how deep I wanted it to be, and the owner of this clothing wants the neckline to be very deep, so I just cut out the V that I needed. So this V, the V I cut out for the neck rather, is very very important because that's what I'll use to cut out the net that I used for the new neckline or the neck area for the clothes. Okay, so for this is the back um panel of the clothes, and I have already like put the dart on it. I've closed up the zip allowance, and then I've also even turned it in with the lining. So this is what this looks like. I've gone ahead to shaping the down part of the gown. Then like I mentioned, the flap, this is what the flap looks like, and so this is how it's going to be closed at the bottom part of it. This is how it's going to be closed at the down part of it. So this is, I put this at about 4 inches down. You can make yours 4 or 5 depending on what you or how long you want it to be. Then this is the front part of it. So if you remember the front part of it that I cut, like when I cut out the fabric and the lining, after I took out the would have been neck area, then I cut this down to give me the V. Now I use this to also still cut out for the net area, although I reduced it a bit more, like by 1 inch, because I realized that the way it was high previously was touching on the neck, so I took it down by 1 inch. Then I've attached this net to the fabric and also still turned it in with lining just so it looks very neat. Then I use this thread to thread and needle to just tack this down. so it holds the lining away from the neck area. And yeah, it's just like very neat for when you want to iron. So the moment I iron this, it should be able to keep the lining on one side like I want it, and not getting into this. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to join the front to the back area. Then I'll cut out a new armhole for the dress, just so it tallies with what is on the person's just so it tallies with the person's armhole. Then I'll join the top to the bottom part of it, and then I'll be done with this dress. Okay, sorry, I skipped out one part. I'm going to shape in the top before I join it to the bottom. Make sure that the down part of the waist part of this clothes has the same measurement as the waist part of the skirt, just so that they can fit in perfectly. And then after that, it will be time to put the arm on the dress, and I think that will be all for it. So now I've attached the dress, the top to the bottom, and this is what it looks like. I've also attached a zipper to the back, and this is what it looks like. So all that is remaining for this dress is for me to attach the sleeve, and I'll be showing how to do that in another video, but for now I'll just show you the finished product. So right now I am done attaching the sleeves to the dress, and this is what it looks like after attaching to the dress. So this will be better appreciated on the mannequin or on the person, but this is what it looks like. So we've come to the end of this video. I hope you learned one or two things, and I hope you liked this video. So please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notifications so you're aware every time I make a new post. See you on the next video.